find a story on it for tomorrow.
Oh my goodness.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. It's 8 o'clock Thursday morning. We are one day closer to Friday. Thank the Lord. Anybody else feeling that this week has been a year? Oh my gosh.
Week has been a year. I will say though, February's gone quickly.
January drags, February flies.
January drags. And we're already halfway through. It's February 15th.
Thank goodness. Holy cow. We were just watching the craziest video on Instagram about these traditional wives. Have you seen this?
So I was telling Ed, I don't know if anybody has seen these videos or it's on Instagram, whatever. I am a sucker for like Dear Abby or like those advice columns. And someone wrote an advice column the other day, and the question was that her daughter, who was 16 or something, had started following these, they call them trad wives, like traditional wives Instagram accounts. Mm-hmm. And now this girl who had been so great in school, X, Y, and Z, this mom writes, no longer wants to be good at school. She wants to marry a man who's going to provide for her. She just wants to live her life as a wife. That's it. And whatever. And it was just a really interesting advice column because...
Well, what was the advice?
Well, the advice was you take her social media. Basically, kind of, her social media, you really need to monitor that. And you need to kind of be like, this is not how the real world works. Should you get married and decide you want to play, you know what I mean? Do that. That's one thing. But like, you can't go looking for somebody who's just going to like pay the bills for you. Like, and the advice too was like, tell your daughter that many men are looking for like an independent woman who is able to like have a life on her own and function as a regular person. And it kind of like red flags if you find somebody who's looking for someone who doesn't want to be an independent. I don't know. It was really
like you're a gold digger, basically, is what it comes down to.
Or like you could really set yourself up to be in a scary situation if you're completely financially dependent on someone and you don't have a way out.
Okay, can we talk about this? What is your opinion on this trad wife trend?
I was going to try to find a story on it that we could like lead into for tomorrow, but Ed was so into it when I was showing him.
Della says, oh no.
It's a whole thing on Instagram. And I have seen these videos come up on my Instagram before. I said to Ed, you're probably not the targeted like wife on Instagram because you're a man. But like they've come up when I've scrolled through on Instagram before and I kind of just go to the next. But like apparently some of these younger girls are really like thinking this is a way of life.
Okay, so what? Like they want to go back to the 1950s and 1960s, like if you're our age, our grandparents' generation.
The things that a lot of women fought to not do.
Thank you. What? Really? And you're dressing with like cinched waists and puffy hair.
Yeah, and
like no.
There was a video that we saw where the one woman was like prepping for her husband to come home.
The hell are you smoking?
Paul comes home. I'm like, Paul, I'm in here.
Right. Russ has to wake me up. I'm drooling all over my pillow.
I don't know. It's just really, I don't know.
What? Like what has become of American values? Like, okay, that was an American value and tradition in like 1950. Here we are in 2024. Why are we circling back and like turning the clock back? I don't get it. What is going on in society?
You know what? Okay, wait. Someone just said you really got to watch your kids. Yeah, Megan. Okay, parental guidance for the kids on the computer. Like this is just one example. I mean, and we see different kinds of examples. Here's another like bizarre example of what kids can get indoctrinated to.
Kelly says, no, I'm teaching my kids they need no one.
Right.
Be strong, independent women. You want something, work for it. It's not handed to you. Waste of time, Joyce says. Right. Ew. Gross. I know. We need to teach kids to be self-sufficient. And this kind of, that story in particular that you just mentioned about how that one girl doesn't want to be in school.
Yeah, and it was an advice column that I read. I can't even remember which one it was.
But let's face the facts here. Social media is infiltrating our daily lives. So much so, there are so many school districts that are now suing the creators of Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and beyond because it's caused so much angst, anxiety, trouble in teenagers' lives. Buffalo schools now just joining this mass lawsuit against the makers of the social media companies.
Women who are with us right now, like, have you ever seen any of these videos? Like, am I bizarrely being targeted? Like this girl needs to take a step back. No, but like,
speaking of anxiety,
like, are they like, honey, like, relax a little bit, be nicer. No, but like, have you ever seen any of these videos or have you read about this? Like, so I was just trying to tell Ed about it, and like USA Today has an entire article about it. It's from 6 months ago, but what is a trad wife? These controversial women are drawing attention and opinions. And that's the other thing. It's attention seeking. Let's be real.
But like they're making money on this too,
Absolutely
right?
they
Like you're
are.
not posting on Instagram for nothing.
And they would never tell you that it's attention seeking. They would also never tell you that probably that they're making a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like they'd say it was their value. I don't know. This is my, I don't know.
Well,
Doesn't do it for me.
Me neither. And then I've sent you the Instagram videos where the woman is, you know, making this, and you know, she's making her own Fruit Loops because Trace, Tread, and Trek are interested in having Fruit Loops for breakfast. Get out of here.
I'm not alone. At least your mom's seen them too. It's really bizarre.
Oh my gosh, Sarah, setting yourself up for not being able to afford to get out of a domestic violence situation. No kidding.
That's all I could think too, is like,
I mean, we talk about red flags. Hello, that is like waving in the wind, red flag.
and like the other thing too is like these women, and maybe they do become stay-at-home moms, right? But like some of them who are on Instagram are not moms yet. So they're at home.
What?
So they're not watching kids yet. And like, listen, a lot of people are like, when I have kids, I'm stepping back from work because like, hello, you've got a new responsibility. And that's very common, I would say. But a lot of them are, I think it's dangerous potentially to like set yourself up for like, I just want to find somebody who's going to support me.
No, that's not how this world works.
And that's not how a good relationship
No, that's number one. Number two, how many of us need a dual income family to make ourselves like even survive?
Connie says she sure hopes they don't start coming on her feed because now we're talking about it.
Barb, I know second cup segment is real. I'm not sorry. Like this is somebody who needs therapy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like Beyonce said, ladies, leave your man at home.
Listen, I'm all about living your life the way you want to live your life. You want to do that? That's fine.
No, it's not.
Well, if that works for them, I guess whatever. But like to glorify it on social media and act like it's a thing that like could work for so many people, you might be giving people the wrong idea.
Mm-hmm. Tracy,
kids
exactly.
Are so susceptible to these ideas.
Well, this is why I'm saying no, it's not, because like that is an abusive behavior. That isn't like we have seen and we've come so far to say where is the problem in a relationship. That's it.
So it depends too. I mean, like, listen, if one person works, the other person doesn't, that's like your prerogative, whatever. But like, I guess the borderline thing is like, USA Today was like profiling this one woman, and like she has to. I want to make sure. Like I found it was like she had to ask her husband anytime she spent money, and that included like, from like a gum to a coffee, like a pack of gum. Yikes.
Problem. You have a problem. Bonnie says,
Anita says it reminds me of like a Stepford wife.
Yeah,
idea.
I have a niece that's like this. She does not work, has a boyfriend living with him. She doesn't work, she doesn't do anything there either. She's 23. She wants this and that and gets it too. What a joke. So basically what this article was saying, that these traditional wives, the man is working, the woman is the homemaker. She's home making dinner, making food, cleaning, cooking, whatever it is. She's doing traditional women things while the man is off doing traditional men things like working. Okay, so what if he cheats on you is one of the questions. She's like, no, I trust my husband. Okay, you're nuts. Secondly, what if, he is...
I shouldn't have showed you these.
Oh my God, I'm so mad now. Like, and I support women's rights.
Yes.
But like, this is turning the clock backwards. What?
Yeah. It's let's say it's extreme. I think that's a good way to put it.
Kelly says, please teach self-respect. Marianne, I don't agree with the idea, but do you think kids are watching their parents struggle with working, kids, and taking care of the house, and maybe realize, I don't want to do that. It's too hard. Again, I work 2 jobs and don't agree with the idea, just my thoughts. Yes, absolutely. And I always say, and my mom and dad are here, I'm sure that they're watching.
Oh yeah, your mom's chiming in.
Well, so I have said that I don't want to live the way my parents did. And I love them dearly, but they worked many jobs to raise 2 children.
But look at the work ethic that you got because of that.
100%.
I'm just saying.
I get it. But I want to be able to, make sure that I save money. I'm not spending on children. Like, and maybe they didn't want kids.
I don't know. The other thing too is like, it's all fun and games to say, hey, I'll do all the cooking and all the cleaning until like you need help doing that stuff.
Right.
Like, what if somebody becomes sick? What if, like, frankly, you don't even have to become sick. What if you're just like, I need a break?
A minute.
And you're like, you need that other person to like pick up the pace a little bit here. You got to do give and take.
Okay, Parker's Pit. At one time, I was a single father of 3 boys. I worked 3 jobs at once just to support them. Kelly says, oh my God, let's talk about work ethic or lack thereof. Sarah says this also gets her worked up.
It does. It bothers me to watch this. It mostly bothers me, not that these people have created these accounts, because like, whatever, do if you want to create that account, I guess, whatever. But that kids will see it and be like, this is a realistic way of life. And it's not.
No.
But, I mean, you could say that about so much stuff on social media. Look at like the way people live and how nice their house looks. And you know darn well behind that
is a hot mess.
Is a hot mess, right?
A stinking pile of crap.
The kids look perfect here. They're covered in jelly and running around smeared in on the walls back there. Like, but I mean, so like there's so much about this on social media. So we have to be old enough and like realistic enough to say like, that is going to be a hot mess behind the scenes. But a 16-year-old doesn't have that capacity.
And again, this is why the school districts are suing, because you can't turn it off.
My mom's comment. My mom says, I can never be that kind of wife. I'm a terrible housekeeper.
Thank you.
But I was good at my outside job.
I wouldn't want to stay home. Are you kidding me? Having no human interaction all day? Or what are you doing? You're going out.
You're making Instagram videos.
What? That is a terrible way of life. I was a nanny, Jeanette says, for many years and do not have kids yet, but I witnessed how hard I worked during the day. Mm-hmm. Then both parents came home exhausted. I guess it depends on family motives. Okay, fair. Okay, so let me put this out there. Are there any trad wives with us? Am I just blowing my cool for no reason?
I don't know that it's a huge like faction of our society. You know what I mean? I think it's like a little tiny niche thing that took off on Instagram, and it just happened to be the subject of this advice column that I read.
Oh, now I'm mad.
And I was very interested in it.
Peter says, this gets my blood boiling. I can talk about a situation that coincides with this. Spill the tea, Peter. Anita says she never heard of it. But then we talk about, okay, how about bank accounts? Do you have a separate bank account from your husband, or do you have a joint bank account? In this case, the woman needs to ask her husband to buy a pack of gum. Are you out of your mind?
Well, it's yes.
That is insane.
The answer is yes.
That is insane.
I don't know.
Brittany says, I would love to stay home but live off the grid. Tracy says you need a separate account.
So that is something that we actually were talking about this morning, unrelated to this other topic.
It can be related.
It can be related too, yeah. So how do you do it at your house? There's no right way. There's no wrong way. The
one thing that the experts say is that you need to be honest and open about what you're spending money on.
And then this study showed 4 out of 10 people have lied to their partner about money stuff.
That's also crazy.
That's not good.
No. See, but like that, how does that create a firm and stable marriage?
And what do you think people are lying about? Like what they spent on? Like,
or
what do you think they're lying
what kind
about?
of debt they're coming into the relationship with?
What kind of debt they have?
Yeah. Tina says we have a joint account as well as individual accounts. Marianne, I love it. I trust my husband. No, that's coming from a man, ladies. Well, a gay man too. Are you kidding me?
Who has a husband?
Right. Megan, I always said I got my master's degree, so I never had to rely on anyone else. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
Tina's got a joint account and individual accounts. Elizabeth, I'm a stay-at-home wife right now. We have separate accounts, extremely transparent about money.
You have to be. Kelly, we have separate accounts. I have access to both. He has access to his. Does he have access to both?
I don't know.
Wonder.
We have separate and a joint.
Okay, we do too. But the reality is everything comes out of our joint. I have a separate savings account because, if if I want to go see my friends, I don't feel that money should be coming out of our joint account.
No, I agree. Like, and if I go out to dinner without Paul, like with my girlfriends or whatever, like we kind of like pay our own way. And like, so we
really, you don't pay like
if if Paul and I go out to dinner, one time he'll pay, one time I'll pay, one time he'll pay, one time I'll pay. Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm. We kind of do it that way instead of taking it all out of like the same account, because the joint account, I work for like bills. So I keep the amounts I know in it
So you guys go tit for tat?
Yeah, usually. Or like I pay for this, so he'll pay for that, so we'll pay for this. So I don't know.
I love Marianne's comment here. Been married 36 years. Everyone needs mad money.
Mad money.
Yeah, it's true.
That is funny.
But like if I go out to dinner, we'll just put it on the credit card. And everything gets paid on that credit card. We have one credit card. We don't have a million credit cards. I don't even use the one for my bank account. I mean, that works for us. So everything is different in every household.
Yeah, and like sometimes, like the certain bills get paid on one thing, and then we both do pay separate, like random bills. Like for example, that like here's an example I can think of. Like Paul pays like the Netflix because he just always had the Netflix account that got transferred, and I always had the cable account that we transferred. So we like pay those things separately.
Oh, are you kidding me? The second we got married and had a joint credit card, I was like, all the stuff that I paid for is now on the credit card.
Shocking.
We are, because we're both using it. We're both paying for it. Grace says it's all about working together. Marguerite says put a beneficiary on your separate accounts, just an FYI. And then Jeanette says, I don't want to see how much my gambler takes out at the casino.
Yeah.
Ooh, Jeanette. Jeanette, spill the tea on this. How much money are we gambling?
Kenneth. Apparently, we're allowed to live how Ed says, or they need therapy and they're wrong. Kenneth, calling a spade this morning.
I mean, how much do we always say? Ed, not everyone's you, Ed.
It's just Ed's world. We're all just living in it. Megan says she never understood separate accounts. Then you see couples paying each other on Venmo for their share of things. It seems like more work.
I don't get that, honestly. I don't. And, Russell, my sister will Venmo me something. And he's like, oh, just put it in this account. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it makes it there. Sometimes it doesn't.
We don't really Venmo each other usually, I don't think. But like, I don't know. Like sometimes we'll go out to dinner and I'll pay. Sometimes we'll go to dinner and Paul pays. Sometimes he'll be like, you want to put it in the joint account? I'm like, okay.
So Brittany says I could never rely so heavily on someone else, though. And so here's my thought. Russell is so good at paying at numbers and making sure that everything is done. I'll get a bill and it'll just sit there in the envelope on the table.
Oh my God. Can I say, remember the other day how we were like, I was like, I really wish Paul would do the taxes, right? I went home. Paul had watched Second Cup that day. He goes, are you out of your you-know-what mind? He goes, you would never want me to do that, and Thank you know it. And I was like, I know, but it was like that scene in what was that movie, The Breakup? It was like, I want you to want to do the dishes. Like, why would I want to do the dishes? Like, I want you to want to do the taxes.
Right. So if there's one person who's good at something, like that's their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Right. So that you're able to.
I'm not fixing the lawnmower.
Thank you. But I'll do the laundry. I'm more than happy to make sure that everything is done. Your laundry is folded and put away.
Sometimes,
that's a lot of work.
Have you ever asked Russ to like do something and then he doesn't do it? And then you're like, I'll just do it myself. But like, as you start to walk there with the tool to accomplish the task, he's like,
Right. Please don't do this.
Oh my God. That's so funny. Like, I'll be like, Paul, you need to, I don't know, whatever, snow blow the driveway, whatever. And then he kind of waits on it. And I just start putting on a hat and gloves.
No, he doesn't want your help. The other thing is that when it comes to bank accounts, we have to talk about making money. So many of us are desperate for cash these days, right?
Yes.
So when we talk about minimum wage going up $15 an hour, some people aren't even making minimum wage.
Jim, our apologies to you because we got distracted. Okay, so we do need to talk about this. Improving restaurant workers' pay. Who says as a former dishwasher, he made $3.35 an hour to clean up everything behind everyone. He'd say too little, too late. Jim, did you get tipped out when you were the dishwasher? I think that's a great question. And did you feel like you got a fair amount of tipping out from like front of the house, let's say, or like the waitresses? Because that would be part of this minimum wage change.
Well, and who's to say that they're getting a fair share? Because maybe a waiter or a waitress is getting a cash tip and, saying they made less in tips than they actually did. And I'm not saying that waiters and waitresses are dishonest, but like, look, cash is king, right? Like money's money.
Or yeah.
Or it just disappears.
And isn't that how it works at a restaurant? That in theory, everybody kind of tip shares?
Right. I don't know, actually.
I never worked at a restaurant. That is one job I never had.
I'll tell you, when I worked at, and I mentioned this earlier this morning, when I worked, he says no to getting his fair share of tips.
Interesting.
When I worked as a cater waiter back in high school, it was A, the worst job I ever had, and B, the one where I made very little money.
I've heard about another worst job that you had, but go on.
Which one was it?
The grease trap.
Oh,
He had
that's
to,
worry.
he was asked to clean the grease trap. You can imagine how that went over. ladies and gentlemen. Exactly how you think. Yes.
We made, I think, like $2 or $3 an hour
Right.
as a waiter in a catering hall, but then the rest of our salary rather was made up of tips.
Now, when you were the cater waiter, which I love because it rhymes, were you serving people or was it like buffet style?
It was serving people. So I'd walk out with white gloves and I'd say, "Oh, do you want the steak or
You loved that part of the job.
There was actually one guy who he's like, "I'll have my steak butterfly," and I laughed in his face. Thank you. And I walked back into the kitchen. I'm like, "This jerk wants his steak butterfly," and they're like, "Oh yeah, no problem." They cut his steak like a butterfly, like they cut it down this like the long way, like if you're holding the steak like this, they cut it this way and opened it up. Yeah.
And what they
We
do?
even knew it was a thing. That's how we wanted the steak, butterflied. They put the wings out on the plate. I'd never heard that before. Mind you, I was 18.
I'm going to Google that.
But it turns out that when you're talking about tips, there's this new push in Albany to have the sub minimum wage ended for these tipped workers. So in other words, tipped workers only get about 66% of the overall minimum wage, $8 to $10 an hour. This bill would create one fair wage.
Interesting. Tracy says she never liked being a server. Made $5 an hour a long time ago. People don't tip well or sometimes at all, or people forget that people really rely on those tips. Interesting.
Jennifer says butterflying a steak helps it cook more even if it's a thicker cut.
Parker's Pit says, Ed, you let me know if you're looking for a part-time job. I need a waiter.
Look, I didn't mind it at the time. I wouldn't mind. No, excuse me. I should take that back. I did mind it. I hated that job. I thought it was the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I would have no problem.
Well, Megan says you got to have so much patience as a waitress. She could never do that. People can be
Bingo.
so mean sometimes. Workers should be paid more. Yeah, I really hate it when you're at a restaurant and people are rude to the wait staff.
Well, that's a red flag.
It is so uncomfortable. And like,
it's not their fault.
What if it's like the table next to you? Do you ever do that? Like if Paul and I are out to dinner and like the table next to you is like arguing or they're like being whatever. Like, do you sit there with your like significant other and you're like,
Russ would be like, what? What are you saying?
You're doing the like eye thing. Like, are you listening to these two over here?
Yeah. And you feel like you're on an episode of What Would You Do?
Yeah.
And you're like, sir, take it down a notch. Marry your mom. That new bill will just make the prices in restaurants go up. And that's the con to all of this, right? But the pro, some people say, is that it could help workers make a living wage. Megan, good morning. I feel like if you have so much patience as a wage, that's what you just read. Okay.
Julie
Debbie
said it's her job is the Denny's. Remember she mentioned this, that the waitresses earn their tips. I didn't do half of what the waitresses did.
Debbie says, I know minimum wage is up to $15 an hour, but you can't even live on that nowadays with the prices that keep going up.
Oh my God. Okay. Oh, we forgot to talk about my story too. Oh, we should have saved this tread right thing for tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Just mention it really quick.
So really quick, I did a story on doing a no spend month, which I thought was really interesting. Like you buy essentials. I talked to a mother and daughter who did it together. Like a little girl, she's 6 and like there she is. Adorable Charlotte. And her mom and her did this no spend month together. They did it right after Christmas. They said, listen, everything's been expensive. Let's do this together. We're not going to pay for extra outings. We're going to say no to, we get invited to the Sabres games, Urban Air. She mentioned, like bowling with your friends. We're saying no to that stuff. We're going to stay home, eat as much as we can out of our pantry. We're not going to go to the toy aisle at Target. They still bought gas and some essential groceries, but they tried to really eat out of their pantry, do that kind of stuff. And they saved $1,000 in a month.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Charlotte had a little book because she was keeping track of it too. Like it was a way for mom to teach her too about money. So it was a really nice lesson, and they saved $1,000.
Johnny, my boy in the background here, can drop a link to Katie's story in the comments. So if you're interested in doing this, or if you do it, let us know.
Yeah.
How much money do you think you could actually save? $5,000 if you did it the right way?
If you did that book, you could, they sell these books, you could do that. Yeah. I just saw an Instagram video the other day that said, every day, if you spent $27 every day, think about that, just day to day. Whether or not you do it every single day or it adds up to that at the end of the week, you're spending $10,000 a year.
Now, what bank account is that coming out of? Yours, your joint?
Well, not yours. But like, think about that. If you went out to lunch every day, lunch can be $20 these days.
Somebody, Elsa, wondering what the current wage for servers is right now. So they're making, restaurants are required to pay in New York State 66% of the overall minimum wage, which totals about $8 to $10 an hour. So then the rest of that likely comes from tips. So they could be making much more than that an hour if you're getting cash tips or credit card tips. Yeah. Barbara says,
likes that.
I do too. It's smart.
Yeah.
You're actually tracking the cash as opposed to just tapping your credit card.
Exactly. Keeping an eye on it.
Russ says, you got to stop tapping. That's all you do, Ed.
Russ isn't
Not true.
Have a great day, everybody. See ya.